The hall was enormous, stretching higher than any human building Lena had ever seen. Light shimmered along the walls in soft waves, reflecting off surfaces that seemed to shift color as she walked. Around her, alien students moved with fluid grace, their forms strange and varied. Some had 6 arms, others glided above the ground, and a few seemed almost translucent, their internal organs glowing faintly like living constellations. Lena felt a pang of doubt. She had trained for this moment for years, learned every detail about the Zorathian Academy, memorized their protocols, and prepared herself for skepticism, but seeing them in person was something else entirely. Her feet made soft clicks on the polished floor as she approached the entrance to the main lecture hall. She was a small figure among towering aliens, her human frame fragile-looking compared to their muscular or extended bodies. Yet she walked with her head high, gripping the strap of her bag where her tablet and personal notes were secured. She had not been sent here for appearance or physical strength. She had been sent here because humans were clever. And cleverness was something even the most advanced civilizations could not ignore. The hall was already buzzing with conversation when she stepped inside. Holographic displays floated midair, showing complex equations, schematics of spacecraft, and simulations of interstellar phenomena. Students gathered around them, tapping with extra limbs, hovering hands, and tendrils. Each display responded instantly to touch or thought, bending and reshaping with speed Lena could barely comprehend. She paused at the doorway, taking it all in. Then the instructor appeared. He was enormous, even by Zorathian standards. His skin was translucent, pulsing faintly with veins of silver and violet. 6 limbs ended in delicate claw-like appendages, and his eyes glimmered with multiple lenses that adjusted focus independently. He stopped mid-gesture, turning sharply toward Lena. The room fell silent instantly. "Who authorized this human girl?" His voice was deep, vibrating in a way that seemed to make the walls echo. Lena froze for a heartbeat. Every eye in the room was on her. Whispers rippled through the hall like a gentle wave of static energy. Some students leaned forward, curious, others leaned back, wary. Lena could feel their judgment pressing down on her. She had known this would happen. She had expected suspicion. But the intensity of it, the sheer disbelief, was something she had to absorb and process in real time. She took a step forward, steadying herself. "I was sent by the Human Coalition," she said clearly, her voice shaking slightly at first, then gaining confidence. "I'm here to study and to help humanity work alongside your civilization." "The Academy does not admit humans," he said. "Their physiology, cognition, and history show they are inadequate for our standards." Others Lena could see were intrigued. A few, like a young Zorathian with faintly green-veined skin and glimmering horns, seemed to watch her closely, almost as if evaluating whether she might be interesting. The instructor folded his arms and regarded her silently for a long moment. The silence grew heavy. Finally, he spoke again. "Very well, you will enter the lecture. You will observe. But understand this, human. One mistake and you will be removed from this hall, possibly from this planet." But she had prepared for this. She could read their gestures, recognize patterns in their language, and connect ideas even when words eluded her. As the lecture progressed, the instructor posed a complex problem involving quantum manipulation and interstellar energy transfer. The aliens in the class began working immediately, their multiple limbs moving in perfect harmony with the floating displays. Lena watched, her mind racing. She did not have their speed or instinct, but she had something else: creativity. Observing patterns, predicting reactions, and devising solutions in ways the aliens might never consider. She pulled out her tablet, quickly sketching a diagram that combined elements she had learned from her human training with observations of the alien methods. She input a sequence of commands into her portable interface, careful to make them compatible with the hall's systems. Slowly, the display began to respond. Colors shifted, simulations aligned, and calculations began to resolve. A murmur spread through the classroom. Some students paused, eyes widening. A few leaned over, pointing subtly. The instructor froze mid-gesture, studying the display. "Interesting," he said finally, though his tone held both curiosity and suspicion. By the end of the session, Lena had managed something remarkable. The simulation completed in a way that neither fully human nor fully Zorathian methods had predicted. She had solved part of the problem not by brute computational power, but by finding a creative shortcut that relied on logic, intuition, and observation. The aliens were quiet, processing what had happened. During the break, Students approached her cautiously. One, a young Zarathian named Zyra, finally spoke. You think differently," she said, tilting her head, her voice a musical chime. "Most humans would have failed instantly. Most of us would have ignored the pattern you used." "I'm trying to learn and survive." Lena took a seat at the edge of the front row, her heart still pounding but her mind already planning. She had passed her first test. She had survived the initial skepticism. But she knew this was only the beginning. Later, as the day wore on, Lena navigated the hallways filled with alien students. They spoke quickly, some in rapid-fire languages she could not yet parse. Yet she observed patterns, noting gestures, inflections, and repeated symbols. Her notebook filled with sketches, annotations, and new hypotheses. Every small detail could be a clue to understanding their systems, their science, and perhaps their politics. By evening, she found herself in a quiet observation room overlooking the city. The buildings below stretched into the horizon, spiraling towers connected by translucent bridges and streams of light. The sky shimmered with distant stars, alien suns, and the faint glow of nebulae. Lena felt a mixture of awe and isolation. She was far from Earth, far from anything familiar, yet in that vastness she felt a spark of determination. She whispered to herself, "I belong here as much as anyone, I just need to prove it." She could be dangerous or invaluable. If she continues to succeed, perhaps she will force us to reconsider, but caution is necessary. Every observation could be used to understand the aliens, their systems, and the hidden rules of the Academy. As she sat down, she reflected on the day. The question that had set everything into motion, who authorized this human girl, was still hanging in the air. Lena did not need authorization from the Academy. She only needed determination, ingenuity, and courage. Humans had survived worse than alien skepticism. They had adapted, evolved, and overcome. And she intended to do the same. The stars outside her window glimmered faintly. She took a deep breath and whispered again, "I will not fail. I will show them who humans really are." The Academy was not a place for the faint-hearted, and she was not faint-hearted. The instructor had questioned her presence, the students had doubted her, and the systems seemed impossible to navigate. Yet somewhere deep inside, Lena felt a thrill. She was human. She could endure. She could innovate. She could survive. And maybe, just maybe, she could inspire the galaxy to see humans differently. The next morning, Lena arrived at the main hall before anyone else. The alien architecture glowed softly under the light of the rising suns, and she could see students gathering outside, their shapes stretching and shifting as they conversed. Even at a distance, she noticed the glances directed her way, curiosity, caution, and the faint trace of judgment. Lena ignored them. She had learned quickly that drawing attention with fear or arrogance could be dangerous here. Observation and patience were far more useful weapons. Inside the hall, the instructor waited. His 6 limbs were folded neatly, and his translucent skin shimmered as he scanned the room. He did not smile. He rarely did. "Human," he said, his voice low and measured. "Today you will face your first challenge, the quantum simulator." It could test not only intelligence, but also adaptability, intuition, and the ability to think in ways alien minds could not predict. Many of the Academy's students had failed it, and failure was not taken lightly. The worst cases could result in expulsion or reassignment to the manual colonies on distant planets. She stepped forward confidently. "I am ready." But she also knew the truth. She could not succeed by copying the methods of the Zarathians. She had to find her own way. The hall darkened and a large platform rose from the floor. The quantum simulator hovered above it, a spherical lattice of light and energy, spinning slowly as if breathing. Lena stepped onto the platform, and the instructor gestured for the first sequence to begin. Immediately, the room around her disappeared. She found herself in a simulated space filled with streams of data and floating shapes. Equations shifted and morphed, projections of energy fields and spacecraft designs surrounding her. Other students' projections hovered nearby, faster, more intricate, a display of alien speed and precision that made her pulse quicken. The first task appeared. She was to stabilize a quantum energy field using the simulator's controls. The field flickered violently, rejecting her initial inputs. Her fingers moved over the interface, adjusting sequences, trying to mimic patterns she had memorized. Nothing worked. Every attempt caused the field to destabilize more, sparking flashes of energy that made the air hum. Other students' projections glided smoothly. Lena could see them handling sequences with multiple limbs in perfect harmony. She could feel the judgment of the instructor's gaze, even in this virtual space. Failure was close. She had to act quickly. Then Lena remembered something simple. The Zorathians relied heavily on patterns they already knew. Humans, she thought, were less predictable. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting intuition guide her. She remembered how her father had taught her to solve problems, observe, pause, and think in unconventional ways. She let the data flow around her, noticing not just the equations but the relationships, the energy fields, subtle responses, the hidden rhythms in the sequences. Her fingers moved differently now. She combined steps she had memorized with new adjustments, changes that seemed unusual by Zorathian standards. Slowly, carefully, the quantum field stabilized. A flash of light shot through the simulation and the data streams aligned perfectly. Lena opened her eyes to see the virtual field fully controlled. She had succeeded. A murmur ran through the observation deck as the instructor's eyes widened. "Interesting," he said, his tone almost grudging. "You did not follow our methods, yet the result is correct. This is new." She knew better than to assume success here meant acceptance. After the simulation ended, Lena returned to the real hall. Her body felt heavy and sweat dampened her shirt. The instructor waited for her, his limbs folding and unfolding slowly. "Your performance is unexpected. Humans are not meant to interface with the simulator, yet you adapted. You may proceed to the next challenge." I didn't think anyone could stabilize that field without native cognition. Most of us failed several times before the simulator even let us touch the data. I expected that. She noticed patterns other students missed, small feedback loops, energy pulses that reacted differently depending on timing. She used them to balance the fields in ways the simulator's creators had never anticipated. A few alien students leaned over, whispering. "Is she cheating?" one asked. Another shook their head. "No, she's seeing it differently." But that's human, unpredictable. By the time the final challenge appeared, a simulation mimicking a complex interstellar navigation problem, her mind was sharp and focused. She had learned to anticipate the simulator's reactions, not just respond. The final challenge required her to guide multiple energy ships through a dynamically shifting asteroid field while maintaining their stability and energy efficiency. The simulator's algorithms had been designed for alien intuition, and most students struggled with timing and coordination. Lena studied the flow of data, noticing patterns in the asteroid movements and energy requirements. She devised a route that no Zorathian would consider, relying on timing and adjustments that seemed counterintuitive but worked perfectly. Her ships moved through the simulation flawlessly. Every obstacle was avoided, every energy balance maintained. The projection glowed, signaling completion. Lena exhaled, exhausted but triumphant. The instructor approached her quietly, the other students observing in silence. "Remarkable," he said, his voice low. "You have not only passed, but you have done so in a manner entirely foreign to us. Humans are more adaptable than our models predicted. Yet this also presents a problem. We do not know how to categorize your success. You must survive, learn, and overcome the biases of this academy. If you succeed, you will change how we perceive humans." "I just need the chance." That night, as she lay in her bed, Lena reflected on the day. She had survived her first real test. She had outperformed expectations without relying on alien methods. She had shown ingenuity, courage, and adaptability, the traits humans had always relied on. But she also knew the path ahead would not be easier. The academy would continue to challenge her, test her limits, and confront her with prejudice. Yet within her a quiet pride grew. She was human, fragile in body perhaps, but formidable in mind and spirit. And as she stared at the stars outside her window, light years away from Earth, she whispered to herself, "I will not just survive here, I will thrive. I will show them that humans can stand among the stars." Some students looked at her with curiosity, while others barely hid their disdain. Even among the instructors, her presence had caused whispers and debates. Yet Lena moved forward, observing everything, learning quickly, and never showing fear. One morning, she followed Zyra down a corridor that twisted and rose into the upper levels of the academy. The walls glowed faintly with embedded circuits, and the air hummed with energy as students passed, floating devices trailing behind them. Zyra glanced at her human companion. "You need to understand something," she said. "This academy is more than classes. Politics, alliances, and unspoken rules are just as important as knowledge. If you ignore them, they will control you." "I've noticed. I don't plan to ignore them. I need allies, not enemies, if I am to survive. Zyra tapped the interface, and lines of data floated upward, showing groups of students clustering in different areas. See here, she said. Some groups have influence, others only follow. The factions that distrust humans are small but powerful. They control resources, access to simulations, and even instructors' opinions. So if I want to succeed, I need to prove myself to the right people and avoid giving them a reason to undermine me. They were well known for their harsh criticism and loyalty to tradition. The leader, a tall, silver-eyed alien named Varix, smiled faintly, though there was no warmth in his expression. Human, he said, your methods are unusual. Perhaps they work, perhaps not, but do you understand the consequences of failure? I will not fail. Later, she and Zyra worked together in the laboratory, studying energy modulation techniques that were crucial for the next Academy-level test. Zyra showed her how alien simulations relied on feedback loops and predictive calculations, and Lena adapted them with human intuition. She suggested adjustments that Zyra had never considered. The results were impressive. The simulations ran more efficiently and energy loss decreased significantly. Other students noticed. Some were intrigued, others visibly frustrated. How does she think like that? Whispered one. It makes no sense. She's a human. That is both their weakness and their strength. Do you understand the risk you carry? Zyra explained, the Academy is a microcosm of the galaxy. Knowledge is power, but influence is survival. You cannot ignore either. Someone was monitoring interstellar political activity, and humans were clearly under scrutiny. Lena realized the stakes were higher than she had imagined. The Academy was not just an educational institution. It was a hub for influence, planning, and control across the stars. Zyra arrived quietly behind her. You found the monitoring room, she said softly. It is not meant for students. Some factions within the Academy are preparing to prevent humans from gaining recognition. They fear our species' ingenuity. You are unpredictable. They will plan for typical behavior, not for creative solutions like yours. The other team members were cautious at first, reluctant to take suggestions from a human. Lena introduced herself calmly and proposed a strategy based on observation of the simulation patterns. One alien scoffed. Your method is unusual. Adapt to what it does, not what you think it should do. The instructor observed silently, his attention fully on Lena. After the session, he spoke to her alone. You continue to exceed expectations, but the political environment of this academy is not forgiving. Not everyone will welcome your success. You must remain vigilant. I will not be deterred. In the following days, subtle challenges emerged. Some students attempted to undermine her in class discussions, questioning her methods or claiming her results were accidental. Lena responded calmly, providing clear explanations and evidence. Slowly, some of her critics began to respect her reasoning. Others remained hostile, their whispers following her through corridors. Zyra became her guide, ally, and confidant. You are changing perceptions, she said one evening. Some students who doubted you now watch carefully. Your actions are reshaping opinions, even among those who resist humans. One day, while reviewing simulation logs, Lena discovered irregularities, subtle manipulations in the data that could have caused catastrophic failure if the wrong sequence had been followed. It was deliberate. Someone within the academy was sabotaging human participation. She shared her findings with Zyra, who frowned. It's worse than I feared. A faction of students and possibly instructors is plotting against you. They will do everything to ensure humans fail or are removed from the academy. You are brave and clever. That combination will save you more than skill alone. By the end of the week, Lena had quietly mapped alliances and rivalries, noting which students were likely to support her and which posed the greatest threat. Her human intuition, combined with Zyra's guidance, gave her an edge that even the most advanced aliens could not predict. The instructor observed all of this silently, his mind analyzing her not just as a student but as a phenomenon. He could see the way she navigated challenges, not with brute force or alien-trained methods, but with creativity, insight, and resilience. Slowly, he began to question his assumptions about humanity. As Lena returned to her quarters that evening, exhausted but resolute, she looked out at the glowing city of the academy below. The corridors, lecture halls, and floating platforms were filled with students, all brilliant in their own ways. Yet she knew that humans, though underestimated, had a unique strength, adaptability, ingenuity, and courage under pressure. She whispered to herself, "I will survive this academy. I will prove humans are not weak. I will show them what we are capable of." She was here to change minds, to reshape perceptions, and to show the galaxy that humans, fragile as they might seem, could rise to greatness among the stars. The academy was alive with energy that morning, more than usual. Students moved quickly between lecture halls and simulation chambers, their holographic displays casting shifting lights on the walls. Lena walked steadily through the corridors, Zyra floating beside her, eyes alert. The previous days had been a learning curve, navigating politics, alliances, and subtle sabotage attempts, but nothing could prepare her for what awaited that morning. The instructor's voice echoed through the hall. "Today, the Academy will conduct a live simulation exercise. Teams will manage interstellar operations in real time. Success depends on strategy, coordination, and adaptability. Failure is not merely a loss, it can reveal flaws in your logic and decision-making. Some mistakes may have consequences beyond the simulation." Even the most skilled students sometimes struggled, and the instructor's words made it clear that this session would test not only skill but judgment under pressure. She glanced at Zyra. "Are we ready?" Observe, adapt, and anticipate. Other teams filled the dome, their movements precise and efficient. The exercise began. Immediately, the dome transformed into a dynamic starfield. Multiple spacecraft appeared, each controlled by a team, and streams of energy flowed unpredictably through the environment. Students had to guide their ships, stabilize energy channels, and respond to hazards that appeared without warning. At first, everything seemed manageable. Lena focused on the patterns she had memorized and the adjustments she had devised in earlier exercises. Her team moved efficiently, coordinating without hesitation. But soon, the unexpected happened. One of the opposing teams, known for their hostility toward humans, triggered a disruption in the energy field. A cascading series of glitches caused multiple ships, including some from Lena's team, to falter. Chaos erupted. The holographic energy streams flared wildly, threatening to destabilize the entire simulation. Several students froze, unsure of how to respond. The instructor remained still, observing closely, his multiple eyes flickering in interest and concern. Lena's mind raced. She had trained for unpredictable events, but this was beyond anything she had seen before. She quickly assessed the situation. Ships were losing stability, energy channels were collapsing, and the simulation's feedback loops threatened to override manual controls. Every second counted. "Follow my lead," she said to her team. "Don't panic. Focus on the energy pulses, not just the commands. React to the patterns, not the rules." Unlike the aliens, who relied on strict calculations, she relied on observation, creativity, and adaptability. Slowly, the energy channels began to stabilize. Other students began to notice. Some paused, impressed by her unconventional methods. The opposing team, seeing their disruption countered, frowned. Their confidence was shaken. Lena's adjustments were precise yet unpredictable, a combination that even advanced alien minds struggled to anticipate. Minutes stretched into an eternity as Lena guided her team through the chaos. Ships that had nearly failed regained stability. Energy streams realigned. The cascading glitches, once threatening to overwhelm the simulation, now corrected themselves under her guidance. The instructor finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Human, your performance is remarkable. You are responding in ways the simulation was not designed to anticipate. Continue." The field shifted unpredictably, and the energy demands of each ship varied continuously. Most teams struggled to maintain balance, some failing entirely. Lena observed patterns that others missed: slight delays in asteroid movement, recurring fluctuations in energy channels, and correlations between ship positioning and energy efficiency. She devised a new route through the asteroid field, counterintuitive yet effective. She communicated clearly with her team, assigning tasks based on each member's strengths. Her leadership was precise and calm. The alien students, initially skeptical of a human guiding them, followed her instructions without hesitation. Together, they navigated the asteroid field flawlessly, maintaining optimal energy levels and avoiding collisions. The simulation responded with stability and efficiency, signaling their success. A hushed silence filled the chamber as the results were displayed. Lena's team had achieved the highest score of the day, surpassing even the most advanced students. Some faces in the dome reflected shock, others awe. The instructor approached, his many eyes fixed on her. "You have not only survived," he said, his voice deliberate. "But you have also demonstrated leadership, strategy, and adaptability beyond what we anticipated. Humans are more capable than our models predicted. This has implications not just for the Academy, but for interstellar operations at large." Yet she did not fear them. She had faced chaos, uncertainty, and opposition before and had thrived. Later, in a private meeting with the instructor, Lena was formally evaluated. "You have shown remarkable human qualities, intuition, creativity, and resilience. But understand this, your methods, while effective, are unconventional. You will face critics, students, and even instructors who will attempt to challenge your approach. The Academy does not yield easily to outsiders. You're changing the way people think here. Some will start to see humans differently, but others will see you as a threat." Small, targeted sabotage attempts appeared in simulations, errors that seemed accidental but were designed to challenge Lena specifically. She noticed them quickly, countered each disruption, and documented the patterns. The opposing faction, led by Varix, was clever, but Lena was cleverer. She began to anticipate their moves, turning their attempts into opportunities to demonstrate human ingenuity. By midweek, Lena had earned cautious respect from several students who had doubted her. They began to seek her advice, curious about her methods and impressed by her results. Some of the instructors began to monitor her more closely, intrigued by her unconventional but highly effective problem-solving skills. One evening, as Lena returned to her quarters, she reflected on the past few weeks. She had survived initial skepticism, adapted to alien systems, and even outperformed native students in complex simulations. But she knew the most difficult challenges were yet to come. The Academy was not merely a place of learning, it was a microcosm of the galaxy itself, filled with intrigue, politics, and high stakes. Yet in her chest, Lena felt a growing confidence. Humans were underestimated, often dismissed as weak or slow, but they had a unique strength: the ability to adapt, improvise, and innovate when faced with impossible odds. She had proven it once, and she would continue to prove it again. As she gazed out of her window at the glowing city of the Academy below, she whispered, "They will remember this human. They will see what we are capable of." Greater obstacles awaited, and she was determined to face them head-on. The instructor's words echoed in her mind. "The Academy does not yield easily to outsiders." Lena smiled faintly. Outsiders she may be, but humans had never been deterred by difficulty. They had survived disasters, adapted to alien worlds, and thrived against unimaginable odds. She was ready to carry that legacy forward, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. And somewhere deep inside, Lena felt a surge of determination unlike anything she had known before. The challenge of the Academy had revealed not her limitations, but her potential. She was human. She could endure. She could lead. She could inspire. And she would. The Academy was buzzing like a living organism, corridors thrumming with energy and purpose. Students moved quickly between lecture halls, labs, and simulation chambers, their attention divided between learning and observing one another. Lena walked calmly through the halls, Zyra floating beside her, her expression steady, her mind sharp. She had survived tests, sabotage attempts, and skepticism. She had proven herself again and again. Yet the final challenge awaited, one that would decide not only her place in the Academy, but also how humans would be seen across the galaxy. The instructor's voice echoed through the main hall, commanding attention. "Today, we begin the culmination of the Human Initiative exercise. Each participant will demonstrate mastery in a multi-stage operation, combining strategy, adaptability, leadership, and problem-solving. Outcomes will be observed and evaluated by senior council members. This exercise is decisive. Failure is not merely a mark on a transcript. It can determine an individual's influence and credibility within interstellar society." It was larger than anything Lena had ever seen, a dynamic galaxy filled with fleets of ships, swirling energy streams, and volatile phenomena that shifted unpredictably. Each team was assigned a mission: navigate through complex asteroid belts, stabilize energy fields, and deliver vital resources to distant colonies under simulated threats. The stakes were immense. Lena's team was positioned at a central control station. She glanced at her teammates, Zyra and two other students she had earned the trust of. They were attentive, ready, and willing to follow her lead. Across the chamber, rival teams, including Varix's faction, positioned themselves with confident precision. Lena noted their subtle expressions: doubt, determination, and a hint of resentment. She did not let it bother her. She focused entirely on the task. The simulation began. Immediately, chaos erupted. Energy streams fluctuated unpredictably, asteroid fields shifted violently, and enemy fleets maneuvered aggressively. Many teams struggled to respond. Ships faltered, energy channels destabilized, and errors cascaded into near catastrophes. The instructor observed silently, his multiple eyes flickering with interest. Lena's mind raced. She assessed the situation, noting patterns others missed. Subtle energy feedback loops, timing discrepancies in asteroid movements, and the indirect consequences of rival maneuvers. She devised a strategy that combined observation, creativity, and adaptability. Unlike the aliens who relied heavily on pre-calculated sequences, she relied on intuition guided by careful attention. "Follow my instructions," she said to her team, her voice calm and commanding. "React to what the simulation does, not what you expect it to do. Anticipate patterns, not just commands." Ships that had faltered regained stability. Energy streams stabilized under precise adjustments. Even rival teams were caught off guard by the speed and efficiency of their responses. The cascading crises that threatened the simulation began to resolve. Minutes stretched, each decision critical. Lena adjusted inputs constantly, anticipating asteroid shifts, redirecting energy, and coordinating multiple fleets simultaneously. Her leadership was precise, calm, and confident. For the first time in the Academy's history, a human was directing multi-fleet operations with success rivaling that of advanced alien strategists. The instructor leaned forward slightly, observing every move. "Remarkable," he muttered. "The human adapts in ways our systems cannot predict. This is not only skill, it is instinct, creativity, and leadership combined. I only want to finish this correctly. The rest will follow." With precise adjustments, she guided her team's ships along a safe trajectory, redirecting energy fields to create a protective shield. Other teams struggled. Ships were destroyed in the simulation, energy lost, and missions failed. Lena's team continued to navigate with clarity, each success reinforcing the human capacity for ingenuity and calm under pressure. Even Varix's faction struggled to counter her moves. Frustration was clear in their expressions. "She's unpredictable," one whispered. "No algorithm can match her, she's human." "Continue." Her directions were precise, her adjustments constant. Ships moved in perfect coordination, hazards avoided, and resources delivered efficiently. Every element of the simulation fell into place under her guidance. For the first time, the instructor allowed himself a subtle smile. As the simulation concluded, the results were displayed. Lena's team had achieved the highest performance score in the Academy's history. Efficiency, leadership, creativity, and adaptability were all recognized. The chamber was filled with a mixture of awe and shock. Some students whispered in disbelief, others quietly applauded. Even the instructors were impressed. The instructor finally addressed the hall. "This human has not only survived every test, but has exceeded expectations beyond what we deemed possible. She has demonstrated leadership, ingenuity, and adaptability that challenge our understanding of human potential. Let it be known, humans are not merely survivors, they are innovators." "You've proven them wrong." She had shown that humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. After the ceremony, Lena was called to a private meeting with the senior instructors and the council representatives observing the exercise. The lead counselor, a tall, silver-eyed figure, spoke first. "Human, your performance has not only been exceptional but transformative. The methods you employed are unorthodox yet effective. Your actions have forced us to reconsider human capability. We acknowledge your contribution and recognize your right to continue at this academy. I only hope to continue learning and proving that humans can contribute meaningfully to the galaxy. We will remember this day." Some students still eyed her warily, but others sought her guidance, inspired by her ingenuity and resilience. She had forged alliances, earned respect, and demonstrated that humans could thrive where others doubted. In the quiet moments, Lena reflected on her journey. From the moment the instructor asked, "Who authorized this human girl?" to now she had faced doubt, hostility, sabotage, and impossible challenges. Yet she had survived and thrived. She realized that the essence of humanity, adaptability, creativity, courage, and resilience was what had allowed her to overcome obstacles. That evening, she stood by her window looking out over the Academy city. Towers spiraled into the sky, energy streams connected distant platforms, and stars glimmered faintly in the distance. Lena felt a sense of purpose unlike anything she had known. She was far from Earth, yet her actions had left a mark not only on the Academy but also on the galaxy's perception of humans. Zyra joined her quietly. "You've changed everything," she said softly. "They will remember humans differently now. The galaxy will take note of what you have done. Do not waste this opportunity." She had faced challenges that tested her intellect, courage, and adaptability. She had endured skepticism, sabotage, and danger. And now she stood recognized, not just as a student, but as a symbol of human potential. In the Academy's vast halls, where light and energy wove through the walls like living threads, Lena had made her mark. She had shown that humans could think differently, act creatively, and lead with courage. The galaxy had underestimated them, but she had proved that humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and spirit were forces to be reckoned with. And somewhere, deep inside, Lena knew that her journey had only begun. The universe was vast, filled with challenges, unknown civilizations, and threats beyond imagination. Yet humans, she thought, were never meant to be ordinary. They adapted, they innovated, and they endured. She had proven it at the Academy, and she would continue to prove it across the stars. For the first time, Lena felt not only hope but certainty. She was human. She was capable. She was a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. And as the stars shimmered outside her window, Lena whispered quietly to herself, a promise and a declaration. "We are not weak, we are human, and we will rise."